It finally happened. I went to a used bookstore, and friends, I did not hold back. Every book that I saw that I wanted, I bought it. I am very excited to show you my first full used book haul that I have done since the pandemic started. Yes, I have bought books at Chapters, I have ordered used books on Amazon, I have gone to little libraries and picked up books, I have gone to the library and picked up books, I have read tons of books, I have accumulated many books, but I have not gone into an excellent used bookstore and done a good old in-person shop. I picked up some really good books that have been on my list of books to buy when I go to a used bookshop again for a very long time, and I am very excited to share them with you today. The first book I picked up needs no introduction. I will introduce it though. It is Charles Darwin's book, The Origin of Species. What exactly prompted me to buy this book? I am not sure, but I do not regret it. Clearly, this is a landmark study for the natural sciences and therefore for all of humankind. It remains relevant to this day, and it's written for a layman audience, so I expect it to be pretty enjoyable to actually read as well. If you don't know, this book was written in 1859, and it detailed Charles Darwin's theory of evolution by natural selection. Its full title is The Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection, or The Preservation of Favored Races in the Struggle for Life. Up until this point, human beings were thought of as special and unique from other animals and stagnant in their creation. So Charles Darwin popularized evolution, how we're not separate from the animals, we came from the animals, and all things evolve, specifically by choosing the ones that survive the best. That's that. The next book I picked up is no less revolutionary, and that is Cervantes' Don Quixote. I did not know this book existed until like a year ago when Noelle Gallagher on BookTube started talking about it, because I think she had to read it for her master's in literature. She absolutely loved it. She thought it was hilarious. And then a bunch of other booktubers I noticed started reading it, so I've been a little intrigued. Lo and behold, it is considered by many the first modern novel. It is about a man named Don Quixote who is really into romance novels, and he wants to become a knight errant to show that chivalry is not dead and you can be chivalrous and serve your state. And he recruits a simple farmer to be his squire, and the two of them, I assume, go on funny adventures together. It is like 1,000 pages and the font is not large. So this next one, the bookstore owner said that if I get any of these books that I had piled up in front of him, I definitely have to get this one. The Overstory by Richard Powers, winner of the Pulitzer Prize. This is Richard Powers' 12th novel. It says it's a sweeping, impassioned work of activism and resistance that is also a stunning evocation of the natural world. I've heard that the structure is quite interesting. The table of contents resembles the life cycle of a tree, from like roots to its growth to seeds again. I think that it's the story of a bunch of different people who all, their stories center around a tree or trees, and then they come together somehow through the life cycle of a tree, I assume. And I think it is activism for trying to save our forests. The next book I picked up is one that has been on my TBR list for quite a while, because I think that I'm really into magical realism, and so I wanted to read the book that started it all, which is 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This book is originally in Spanish, and it is about a family across multiple generations, and it was the birth of the genre magical realism. That's about all I know about this book. I'm excited to dive in. So this next book was recommended by Lena Norms here on BookTube. She has just started a new series where she talks about books that discuss climate change with some of her friends, and the first person she has on this new series is Ariel Bissett, who is one of my favorite booktubers, also a Canadian, and they are discussing the book We Are the Weather, Saving the Planet Begins at Breakfast by Jonathan Safran Foer. And so I decided to pick this book up so I could read along with them. And back in like high school, I owned Eating Animals by Jonathan Safran Foer, and much like Ariel, I don't think I ever finished Eating Animals, but I've decided to pick up We Are the Weather. And honestly, it does seem like a continuation of Eating Animals, because I think he's specifically focusing on climate change as it's impacted by the meat industry. And I was enjoying the writing style of Eating Animals previously, so hopefully I'll enjoy this book and be enlightened and have my behavior change and help others change their behavior. One book I hear about nonstop on YouTube, and not necessarily from booktubers, but from like all other YouTubers that recommend books to me on YouTube, is Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind. I don't know a whole lot about this other than that it is like a history of humanity and is recommended by everyone on YouTube. It seems like nobody dislikes this book and everyone says it's one of the top books that everyone should read in their lifetime. So I'm gonna trust YouTube, and I'm gonna read this book. This last book is a recommendation from Ryan Holiday. I haven't read any of Ryan Holiday's books yet, although I do have his like 3 Stoicism books on my bookshelf waiting to be read, but I love his YouTube content, and he reads a lot of history books to examine the past so that we don't repeat our past mistakes in the present, and one that he recommended towards the beginning of the pandemic was The Great Influenza, the story of the deadliest pandemic in history. I've been wanting to pick this book up for a while, and I'm excited that I did. I'm craving learning about past viruses that have swept the world to learn more about our present moment and what we might have to expect for the future. The back of this book paints a really stark picture. It says, in the winter of 1918, at the height of World War I, history's most lethal influenza virus erupted in an army camp in Kansas, moved east with American troops, then exploded, killing as many as 100 million people worldwide. It killed more people in 24 weeks than AIDS killed in 24 years, more in a year than the Black Death killed in a century. But this was not the Middle Ages, and 1918 marked the first collision between modern science and epidemic disease. As I was saying in a comment to somebody on my Best Books of 2021 video, I think I'm finally ready to start reading more nonfiction again. Over the course of the pandemic, the real world has been so scary and sad that I've just wanted to dive into fiction. But I think I'm finally ready to start picking up these harder-hitting nonfiction books again and re-immersing myself into the real world. These are the books that I picked up in my used book haul. That's them. Super excited to read every one of these, but none of these were in my 22 books for 2022 video, and clearly I have to read those. So I don't know when I'm gonna get to these books, but I am going to finish this video now because they're quite heavy in my hand. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you've read any of these books, let me know how they were in the comments, and I'll see you in another video soon.